Sometimes, one of the most confusing and painful things in modern relationships is when someone suddenly blocks you. It can happen without warning. One day you're talking, sharing moments, laughing, or even arguing, and the next day, you see that blocked sign. No messages go through. Calls are ignored. Social media disappears. And instantly, 1,000 questions run through your head. Why did they do it? What does it mean? Was it something you said? Or is it something deeper? While blocking feels like rejection, the psychology behind it often reveals much more than just anger or indifference. When a person blocks you, it's rarely about you alone. It's often about their own emotions, boundaries, and coping mechanisms. Sometimes they block because they feel overwhelmed. Maybe the connection became too intense, the conversations too heavy, or the emotions too strong for them to handle. Instead of facing it, they choose the quickest escape, shutting the door completely. Blocking is not always about punishment. Sometimes it's about self-protection. They feel they cannot manage the situation in a healthy way, so they press that button as an emotional shield. For some, blocking is a way to regain control. Relationships, whether romantic, friendly, or even family, can make people feel vulnerable. If they feel like they're losing power in the dynamic, or if they believe you have too much influence over their emotions, blocking becomes their attempt to take back control. It's like saying, "I don't want you to have access to me anymore." In psychology, this is often linked to avoidance coping. Instead of solving the problem, they avoid it. And blocking becomes the tool. On the other hand, blocking can also be a sign of deep feelings. People don't usually block those they don't care about at all. Think about it. If someone is irrelevant to you, you don't need to block them, you just ignore them. But if they block, it means your presence affects them in some way. Maybe it's pain, maybe it's unresolved emotions, maybe it's guilt, or maybe it's because caring too much hurts. Blocking is their way of silencing what they cannot handle internally. Another reason people block is to create distance after conflict. When arguments happen, emotions run high. In the heat of the moment, people say and do things they later regret. Blocking sometimes comes from frustration or anger, but often after emotions settle, they may start to feel differently. Blocking doesn't always mean forever. It sometimes means, "I need space to cool down." The act itself is a boundary, not always the end of the story. From the perspective of relationship psychology, blocking is also linked to attachment styles. People with avoidant attachment often pull away when emotions run deep. For them, closeness feels threatening, and instead of opening up, they retreat. Blocking becomes their way of running from intimacy. On the other hand, people with anxious attachment may block out of anger, hoping you'll chase after them. They want to be noticed, but they don't know how to express that directly. It's also important to understand that blocking is not always negative. Sometimes it's a healthy move. If someone feels mistreated, manipulated, or disrespected, blocking is a way to protect their mental health. It's a clear boundary that says, "This is not good for me." In this case, it's not about punishing you. It's about protecting themselves. We often forget that people have the right to choose peace over chaos. And sometimes blocking is simply their way of choosing peace. But blocking can also reveal immaturity. Instead of communicating, instead of expressing feelings, instead of working through misunderstandings, they take the easiest exit. Mature people face discomfort and talk about it. Immature people avoid it. And blocking, in some cases, is a sign that they are not ready for honest conversations. If someone blocks you, it also means they are avoiding accountability. Maybe they hurt you. Maybe they know they were wrong, but instead of facing it, they choose to disappear. Blocking helps them escape the guilt, the explanations, and the responsibility. In psychology, this is linked to defense mechanisms, protecting the ego by avoiding uncomfortable truths. But here's a powerful truth. Being blocked often says more about them than it does about you. People block because they can't manage their emotions, not because you are unworthy. If you were toxic, it's their way of self-defense. If you weren't, it's their way of avoiding growth. Either way, the block is about their capacity, not your value. It's also worth noting that people who block sometimes come back. They unblock when the emotions calm down, when curiosity rises, or when loneliness hits. Many people block impulsively, only to realize later that they miss your presence. Blocking can be temporary silence, not always a permanent goodbye. But if they return, it's important to notice their intentions. Did they come back because they've grown? Or did they come back just to repeat the same cycle? If you've been blocked, the healthiest approach is not to chase, not to beg, and not to lose yourself in overthinking. Instead, focus on what the block teaches you. It reveals the other person's maturity, their emotional limits, and the true nature of your connection. Sometimes the block is closure in disguise. It tells you that this person cannot handle the depth of what you offer. And instead of seeing it as rejection, see it as redirection, away from someone who wasn't ready for you, and toward peace, self-respect, and growth. Blocking, in the end, is a psychological act that speaks volumes. It's about boundaries, emotions, coping, and control. Whether it's anger, hurt, immaturity, or self-protection, the act itself communicates something important. The person is struggling with their own emotions. And once you understand that, you realize it's not always personal. It's not always about your worth. It's about their journey. So if they block you, it's because they can't face something, whether it's the conflict, their emotions, or even themselves. But your role is not to force your way back in. Your role is to learn, grow, and accept that some doors close for reasons that protect you too. And sometimes, being blocked is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your freedom.